Hello, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers, and this is UV mapping our castle, and this is part 3. I think the first thing we need to do is kind of set up the textile density so we can follow that. You'll need to get a sheet of paper or some scrap piece of paper to find out what your textile density will be for the rest of the UV mapping. So let's go ahead and get that set up. So we're going to focus on the largest object. That could be this or this. So it looks like this is definitely the tallest one. So let's go ahead and do this one here, the tallest one, and try to get our textile density dialed in. Okay, so I'm going to do Control 1 and just hit the F key, and you can see this is what it looks like. It's what I got so far. And as far as modeling goes, now again, you should have delete by type history and freeze transformations and center pivot, everything before you start UV mapping. Just kind of give you a heads up if you haven't done that yet. I would do that. So there's two things we can do. We can go ahead and do automatic mapping, or we can do the cylindrical mapping. Okay. Since the object is upright and not sideways, we can go ahead and do that. But that's going to leave us with the top and the bottom to complete. Okay. Now I think we've gone through, the differences between the two, because we've done a cylinder before in our first project. So with our table, so you guys kind of have an idea of how that all works. So you have to make that choice what you want to do. Okay, I prefer to do the automatic mapping because it'll do the top and the bottom, but it will break up the round shape that we have. But we can always sew those together, move and sew those together. So it's whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do automatic mapping. So I'm going to go to UV and automatic map. I'm going to click on that and reset settings and go ahead and project. And we can see what that does. So I'm going to go to UV editor. Okay, you can see that it breaks it up into smaller pieces and rotates it around, but we can easily fix that. So I'm going to right click over it and go to UV shell and select these shells, and I'm just going to do this quickly. I'm going to move this out of the way. We need to rotate this, so let's go to transform and scroll down and rotate that. And then we're going to kind of take a look at how Maya's has separated everything. Okay, so I'm going to right click over any one of these, go to edge, and I'm going to go select an edge here to see if it will work. So you can see that there's my edge. There's a window. So I really can't select any of the edges in here because the windows are supposed to be there. So I'm going to click on the outside edges. Can't really click on the inside here, but I'm going to click on the outside. And this is where it becomes kind of a problem. So I'm going to select all of these. Okay, not that one. And I think that will work. You can see how this can be kind of complicated. And if you don't feel like doing this, you can always do cylindrical mapping, and then the top and the bottoms will be planar mapping. It's up to you. And you can watch my video on that in the earlier modules. Okay, so I'm going to go to cut and sew and move and sew. Okay, that did okay. I need to go in there, and if I click on UV shell and I go to unfold and click on unfold, I've got to click on the object and then click unfold. It will unfold it. It kind of makes it a little bit wonky. Okay, you may not want that. You can see we've got some issues right here. So I may not be able to do it this way. I'm going to continue going. I'm going to go Control Z back, right? There we go. And I'll show you how to continue. I think we've done this before, so it's no big deal. So it's going to go into edge. And it looks like that edge is working. And we can click on the inside here and then down the side here like that. And we can go to cut, so, move and so. Okay. And I'm going to continue. I'm just holding the shift key to select these edges here. Okay. And I'm going to go to cut and sew, move and sew. There we go. So you get kind of a wonky looking shape. And if I click on UV shell, if I click on the checkerboard, and the image, you can see that it doesn't look terrible, but it kind of skews down a little bit at an angle. So let's go in here, select on UV shell, and I can try a couple things here. I can try clicking on fold, and then I can click on optimize. That helps a little bit. If I keep clicking on optimize, it's kind of trying to get that back, and there's only so much it can do. Okay, you can see that's going to be kind of a problem. And then I can go in here to arrange and layout and click on orient shells. That orients shells a little bit, and that's about the best I can do. Straighten UVs. Let's take a look at that. It looks like it did a pretty good job. Kind of messed this stuff up here, so you can I'm going to do Control Z. Let's go to UVs and let's just kind of select these guys up here, and then maybe click on straighten UVs. And it kind of makes it want to go, you know, down and up, which is kind of strange. So straighten is about the best we can do. Straighten shell. Let's go to shell. Click on shell, and then straighten shell. Okay, it tells me I can't really do that. Oh, UVs must be selected. So let's click on UVs again. This time I'm going to go all the way out and click all of those UVs and can straighten shell. Okay, straighten UVs. And if we do that, you can see that. I go back in here, click on these guys, you can see that it straightened it up really good, and it looks really good. So that worked out pretty good on that. We do see some, well, I guess that's the 0, 1, so that's okay. We do see some issues. Let's take these two off. What can we do to fix those? Well, you can do these by hand, right? So I can click on these and do these by hand, which I've done before. Let's get them as straight as you can so you won't have any distortion anywhere. And what do we got here? Got some rogue UVs here. Not sure where those go. Maybe we'll put those up there like that. Okay, and then we've got some strange stuff going up here, which is kind of strange too, so not exactly sure what to think about this. So I'm just going to move these back up like this. And we got some overlapping stuff maybe. Okay. So these are things you have to decide whether it looks okay, you're happy with it, or what's going on. Okay, so you just have to be the judge of what you want to do with this. But as far as straightening UVs out, it did a pretty good job. Let me go ahead and do the top of these. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time with this, but I'll try to get these evened out the best I can. And then, okay. All right, so it's not perfect, you know, obviously, but If I click on the UV shell and select, it looks pretty good. Okay. What's the other way we can do this as far as UV mapping? It's a little tougher because we've got to go to the top, and if we do, I'm going to keep this one, so I'm going to go to UV shell. So far so good. I can even scale it out a bit just to kind of get those cubes as square as possible. There we go. Let's turn that off a minute. Okay, so everything else is going to be good, and that's the beauty of this, meaning that everything in here is good to go. You have to figure out where your windows are again, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that down. So where are my windows? So I'm going to select all my windows. I'm going to go back into selection mode and hit F key. I think I can rotate around here. And you're just going to select your shells, okay, your windows, and move them into an area that you're going to be comfortable with. And I kind of told you earlier in part 2, I think, that we want the windows to be in this corner here so we don't forget. So I'm going to go ahead into UV shell, move these guys up and out. Like that. And let's move this one up like that. And this one in like that. And then this one in here like that. And in here, let's see, I'm going to go to, we're still in UV shell, I think. Yeah. And here I'm going to click on my UV shell. If I can do that without selecting anything, I guess I can need to select my faces here. Here we go. And just select the faces that I want to paint black. So I'm going to do that right now so I know which ones are which. Holding the shift key down. Let me just kind of get this in really quick. Alright, and I'm selecting things I shouldn't be selecting accidentally. I'll deselect those in just a little bit here. Get these windows, kind of a pain. Those windows are a pain, but you gotta have them. They're pretty cool to have, and you need to have them. So I'm gonna hit the 4 key to see if I get anything else selected. And I don't, just the windows. I got one little guy right back here that I don't need. So get rid of that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the W key and move these over. It looks like we got a window that's being selected there. So I'm going to go Control Z and I'm going to deselect that by holding the Control key down and Smart key selecting it. I'm going to move the rest of them over down here. So these will be painted black. So I'm going to use a shell, and I'm going to go ahead and in here I'm going to go to at the bottom, straighten UVs or orient UVs. There we go. So now they're all oriented right. Let's get these a little bit closer together. Put these down at the bottom so they're going to be easy to paint. Far enough away. There we go. And then the rest of these we are going to place in here if we can. Let's move this out of the way. There we go. Move those up here. Bring these down here. Okay. And you guys get the drill. It's pretty simple from here. Let me get this, orient the shells that way. I need to select these, orient the shells. There we go. Just got to get them straighter. Bring them down here. Okay, and then get these down here. All right, so that looks good. I'm gonna go to right click over this, go to select, and what I want to do is I want to find out how large this UV shell is, and then I'm going to write it down. So to find the UV textile density of a UV map, click on the shell and click on get. And this one I'm going to write down as 53. I'm just going to type in, 53. So 53 textile density. And so this will help me throughout the whole process of the project for this particular assets. So I keep the 53 point, basically 53.1548, and I'll go ahead and put that in there. 1548. And what's going to happen is that this keeps the consistency of the textile density. When I go into the other textile densities and type this in and click on set, then that will set all the textile densities for all the other pieces when I actually lay the UVs out. So I've already taken a lot of time on this, so I am going to go in here and get the rest of this done. So I'm going to click on UV snapshot, and everything looks good. We got one UV texture set, and I'm going to call this Castle Modular 2, and just go down the list or down the numbers, and we're going to click on save, apply and close, and then we close this, and we want to, I'm going to hit the 5 key, then we want to go to file, export selection, OBJ, you know the drill, so this is going to be Castle Modular 2. There we go. Click export selection. Okay, we got one down. We got the textile density all set, so make sure you have that written down, and I will see you in part 4.